The way character scars are treated in Hero Academia is pretty neat. I think it really displays one of the story's core strengths. They show that characters in the world of Hero Academia are people that have lived in the world and actually exist in it. They're not created just to set up cool moments for the protagonist to be amazing, or create a roadblock for them. Each and every character is envisioned as an actual living, breathing person. Scars in Hero Academia always tell an important story about a character. Anytime a character shows up with a scar, there's a defining moment in their past that changed them as a person. And even more often in Hero Academia, characters are actively given scars throughout the course of the story. Most of the time in anime, scars are given to characters in the design stage and exist only to make them look badass. They're used as a visual shorthand to let the audience know this person is a super awesome warrior. Some examples include characters like Kenpachi Zaraki from Bleach or Rurouni Kenshin. How they got their scars and what they mean to them as a person aren't remotely important. All that matters is that they're a freaking badass, and the manga wants to let you know that as soon as possible. You also have characters like Kakashi from Naruto, with his single scarred Sharingan eye. The purpose is to give him a distinct look. You might think, hey, there's incredibly important backstory relevant to that scar. But Kakashi's scar and Sharingan are revealed in chapter 12 of the manga, and his backstory isn't dealt with until over 200 chapters later. If you're familiar with how the writing model of Shonen Jump works, it's pretty unlikely that Kakashi's backstory was ever planned out in very much detail until they finally revealed it. Scars are almost always given as these neat cosmetic lines on a person's face. They're easy to draw for the manga artist and only serve for the purpose of making the character visually distinctive. Just give them a nice little nick on the cheek or a slash across their eye, and you've got someone that the audience can imagine has done a thing at some point in their life. But in My Hero Academia, characters are given scars with a purpose. The very first scar we see in Hero Academia is All Might's scar on his torso, and there's immediately one huge difference compared to most other anime characters. All Might's scar is not pretty. It doesn't look cool or make him seem more awesome. It's a giant horrific mark on the man's body that is about as close as you can get to physically repulsive and disgusting as you can get away with in Shonen Jump. This scar isn't proof of him being a hardened badass warrior. This is a permanent mark on his body showing that in his past, something went horrifically wrong for him. It's permanently crippled the man and prevents him from living his life fully. Despite barely knowing All Might by the time this scar is revealed, you're immediately given the idea that this is a guy who's been around for a long while. He isn't appearing just now because the plot started. You're given the impression that him and this world you're reading about have been around for years. They've been here since before Deku was introduced, and they'll be here long after. Todoroki is similar to All Might with a few major differences. His scar is much more pretty than All Might's, due to the fact that we're going to have to look at his face constantly, as well as Horikoshi having to draw it nonstop, and we aren't given his backstory immediately. But Todoroki doesn't just have the scar for the heck of it even then. In chapter 11 of the manga, the writer has a little sideline bit, talking about how he's one of the first characters he came up with, and that he's got a great backstory planned for him that he can't spoil yet. He already has a solid idea of who this character is, and even though he clearly hadn't figured out shit like how quirks work and what their weaknesses are, he definitely knows who Todoroki is as a character. He doesn't sit calmly in class and show minimum emotion because he's supposed to be super cool, but rather because he was horrifically abused as a child. I want to let it be known that yes, it's incredibly obvious that Todoroki is obviously aping the design from Prince Zuko in Avatar The Last Airbender, and even a bit of his backstory, but the important takeaway here is that this character wasn't thrown in just because he looks cool. Horikoshi made sure that Todoroki was a fully fleshed out character before he ever appeared in the manga. Aside from All Might and Todoroki, every character in Hero Academia that has scars gains them throughout the course of the story. And each time a scar is gained, there's a character growth and understanding that comes with them. Just like the scars on Shoto and All Might inform moments in their lives when things change drastically for them. Deku's hands are scarred in his battle against Todoroki, which is when he really comes into the idea that he doesn't just want to be a hero capable of saving people, he wants to make sure he's the best hero that there is. For someone who only a few months ago was wishing for literally any quirk in the world so he could be a hero at all, this is a very dramatic shift in perspective. During the fight with Stain, Ida gets his hands scarred similar to Deku's, and this is the point where Ida realizes how little of him is genuinely heroic. It's the moment when he realizes how everything he does is fueled by his pride for himself and his family, rather than a desire to be a hero for the sake of helping people. Aizawa gets in on this too, and I'm betting that a good number of people actually forget that he doesn't have a scar by his eye in his first few appearances. He only gets scars after the showdown at the training center, where he fights hordes of villains to keep the kids safe, and ends with him getting wrecked by a Nomu designed to kill All Might. While this moment doesn't seem to have the long-reaching and deep-seated character developments that the others do, it's a pretty significant life event for a guy whose superhero career up until now has been limited to acting as a small-time Batman and school teacher. In addition, the character development is there, it's just not as blatantly obvious as the other examples. Aizawa at the start is shown to care very little for his students, only bothering with those that have real potential to be heroes. All Might even mentions him expelling an entire class because he thought they were worthless. But after the attack on the students, you see a definitive change in Aizawa's behavior toward his students, from someone professionally detached to a man that will absolutely lose his shit if you threaten them. There is one more example that backs up the points I'm trying to make, but it's currently manga only. The bullet points are basically the same, so there's no point in spoiling it either. You just have to know that an established character gets messed up and undergoes some serious character development. I only bring it up because me reading that moment in the manga is the moment I really began to realize how purposeful each and every scar is. I'm not trying to say that My Hero Academia is brilliant and ingenious in the way it uses scars and its character design to actually tell a story and give characters depth. There's good examples of this with characters like Guts, whose scar on the nose is a story about his child abuse, and his missing arm and eye are a reminder of the eclipse. The thing that makes what My Hero Academia does with its characters isn't supremely creative, but the thing that makes it impressive is how each and every character is given equal thought and consideration in their personality and history. And it does it with such ridiculous ease. It creates new characters on a whim, and immediately these characters feel fully fleshed out, and they all have their own unique desires and motivations. Even characters that exist only to fill out the competition are loved by the fans long after their purpose is served, and I think that's attributed to how Horikoshi really seems to care about the people in this made-up world he's created. And for me, the scars characters are given are a perfect reminder of that. Thanks for watching my video. Comment, like, and subscribe as you please.